Hi guys, come with me today as we make some monsters in the big city. All right, you guys, so the supplies that you're gonna need for this project are a box. You can use a shipping box or any small box that you have at your house. Don't worry if it has stickers on it because we're gonna paint it, so no problem. You're gonna need a pencil, Sharpie marker. You know, I always love to have my big pen to do any outlines. A pair of scissors. We're gonna use this Shuttle Art acrylic black paint. You can use any type of black paint. We're gonna paint our box black. You're gonna need a paintbrush and just a paper plate for your paint. Today I'm using my Shuttle Art alcohol markers. I'm also using my Just Art paint markers. I love to have these. Any art project I do, especially anything illustrated, I always have those close by. We're gonna need some little bottle caps if you have them. These are just additions, so whatever you have around your house that you want to add. I'm going to use my Work Pro glue gun. You can use Elmer's glue or any type of glue. I like to use the glue gun because it just dries faster. So if you're a kid at home and you're going to use a glue gun, make sure your parents are close by. If you're going to use Elmer's glue, then no problem. You're good to go. So before we start painting our box, I want to show you a quick example so you can kind of imagine what we're going to do here. This is a sample of one of my students' little monster that we did in an art session together yesterday. So we drew this little monster kind of like we're going to do today, step by step, and I want to show you how we use the popsicle sticks and the little wooden blocks to attach them to the back of the board. So when you're drawing your monster, we're definitely going to leave some space below it so that we can fold it and attach it to our board. So this is his little monster, and he's eating ice cream and enjoying his best life. And this is the one that I drew together with him. And my little monster is having a taco and a hamburger. So here we go, you guys, let's get started. First, we're gonna paint our box black. So if you're using a shipping box or a box that's brand new, you need to tape it. I taped mine all the way around using masking tape. You can get masking tape, really great quality masking tape from the dollar store. I buy them 10 at a time for my studio to use and keep around. We use them for all kind of projects, paper mache and different things. So make sure you get a good tape. You don't want to use a glossy tape or a slick tape because the paint's not going to want to stick to that. So you're going to want to use something that has a texture that will stick to it. So make sure you get yourself some masking tape. All right. Sometimes this paint likes to travel to the bottom, so I'm just going to tap it upside down, and then I'm going to put some paint in, and then we're going to get to painting. Don't worry about painting the bottom of your box. You just want to paint the sides and the top, just what people are going to see. So we're going to get started. Make sure when you're using your paint that you're not just getting as much paint as possible on your brush. You don't need that much, and the paint really needs to be spread out a good bit, especially if you're going to do this project. If you're a teacher or class doing this project, you're going to need this paint to dry in a timely manner. So you see how I'm just spreading it all out. I'm just making sure that there's not clumps of paint on my board. All right, you guys, now that we have our box painted, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take our sheet of paper, and I love to use a sheet of paper underneath what I'm painting because it's just less mess. I can just set it aside while I work on the other elements of my project. So I'm gonna go clean out my brush, pick up my paint, and I'll be right back. All right, you guys, so now it's time to draw our cute monster in the city. So this is gonna be so fun and so imaginative. We want the monster to really tower over everything else around it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw the monster. So he's gonna be like a rectangular shape, but we're gonna curve the sides. Let's see here. And remember to keep your lines super light because we want to be able to get a generalized shape of what we're drawing, but we want to be able to adjust it if we make any mistakes or we want to change the shape of what we're drawing. So make sure you're just keeping your lines really straight and not putting heavy pressure with your pencil. All right, so now that we have his general shape drawn or her general shape drawn, you can just make your monster a girl monster or a boy monster. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the mouth shape in. So just above the middle, I'm going to draw a line across and make a big wide mouth with a curved bottom. And you can decide if you want your monster to have hair, features. We'll get into those details in a second. So for the eyes, we're going to draw 2 circles. Sometimes I like to have one eye bigger than the other. And we're calling him a monster, but we want him to look really cute. So inside that circle, we'll also do 2 other circles, and you can decide whether you want his eye, the little inside black part of his eye, to be perfectly center, a little offset. We want him to be a little silly, so I'm going to offset it. Okay, so inside his mouth, I'm going to draw some teeth in. And those are just little upside down triangles. And then we'll do a half circle for his tongue. And after you get your half circle in, you can do a little indentation that kind of shows the middle part of his tongue. I like to make my characters girls, so I'm going to add some little eyelashes to this little character. Okay, so now I'm going to decide, maybe put some horns on her with a little bit of hair. So I want her to have 2 horns on either side, almost like a little pigtail. So what I'm going to do is inside this line, I'm going to just do a little curved line on either side. That's going to show me where her horns are going to be. And then from there, I'm going to go up with a curved line and come back down. And once we cross over this line here, we can just erase that line. See that? How that just becomes part of your drawing. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just going to go up and over, do a little flat line there, and just come back around. Actually, I'm going to need to go higher than that because my other horn is bigger than the other. Let's see. There you go. That's better. And then from there, I'm going to add a little bit of hair to her. I might add like a fun little swirl here to give her some character. Then I'm going to erase this line that I just crossed over. Maybe we'll make her kind of rainbow color. So there she is. She's already looking so cute. All right, and then I'm going to just add some little details to her that makes her a little more monsterish. You can decide how you want your monster to be. Since I'm going to make her kind of rainbowish, I may just put a star shape up here. Let's see, and maybe one down here. So cute. Okay, so now I'm gonna add her hands and her holding something to make it kind of fun, like she's walking through the city and she has something in her hands. So I'm gonna go to the side of her and I'm just gonna erase kind of like the same area that we have the mouth. I'm just going to erase these outer lines and I'm going to decide. So in this hand, I'm going to draw a flat line with 2 little curved lines on either side, and I'm going to make it look like an ice cream scoop. And then below that, I'm going to draw 2 lines. It's going to look like an upside down triangle, and we're going to make an ice cream cone shaped. Maybe I'll have another scoop on here. So if you want to add another scoop, you just do the 2 curved lines. Let's erase the top of this ice cream cone. And draw the next scoop on there, curved line at the top. And maybe I want to make something fun up here. I'll put like a little squiggly line and make a tiny little rainbow with clouds. I at the top of that. So inside the ice cream cone, I just want to draw some lines to an angle because that's going to give me the look of my ice cream cone. And then you want to go the opposite direction to get the look of your ice cream cone there. And on the side, to make it look like her hand, what we're going to do is we're going to add a curved line here with 1, 2, 3 little fingers. And remember, whatever lines you cross over, you just go back and erase those lines, and then see how you can see her hand right there. And then I'm just going to put another line that connects to her body to make the little arm. So let's say on this side, let's give her a cool drink with a straw. So we're going to add a really thin rectangular line there, and then we're going to come down and over. So I'm going to cross over this star right here, so I'm going to erase that. And then draw the bottom part of her cup. And let's go ahead and add her hand here. So we're going to do that same thing, little half circle there with 1, 2, 3 fingers. And I'm going to erase that line there and add the hand that connects. So it's kind of funny. We're making her like really big, little hands, little feet. Okay, you guys, so here let's add the straw from whatever she's drinking. How about we add some little circles on the bottom, almost like she's drinking like a little boba tea. I've never had boba tea, but my kids love it. Okay, so on the bottom, I want to make some little feet for her. I'm just going to do simple feet today because we're going to cover the front of her with all the buildings and stuff. So I'm just going to do 2 loops across the bottom. That makes my monster's feet. And remember, you have free reign to design your monster or create your monster however you want it to be. If you want 6 horns, you can put 6 horns. However you want to do it, it's your monsters to create. I'm going to put 2 cute little eyebrows up here and maybe just a few more eyelashes. And then maybe instead of stripes in the horn, I might do some polka dots. So I'm just going to add those little polka dots in there. Okay, before we get to coloring, I'm going to add just a few more character elements to my drawing, and then we'll get to coloring. I'm just going to add just a few little squares here. All right, I think she's done. Okay, so now that we're ready to color, I'm going to use my Shuttle Art alcohol markers to do the main bulk of the color. Then I'm going to use my Just Art markers to add little highlights and elements, and then my Bic pen to do the outlines, and then we'll see how it goes from there. All right, you guys, let's color. Remember, when you color, like right now I have my yellow color, I'm going to look around my drawing, and anything I want to have yellow, I'm just going to color those things in while I have that color in my hand. It's just a way to stay organized, and you can use one color up and then move to your next color and do the same thing. Okay, so another thing that I like to do is I like to take a light shade of gray and shade out my drawing. So if you want to add like just a nice little extra element to it, I like to just go around the sides. I'm going to erase these little lines here by the legs. So I like to go around the drawing and just add some shading. On your Whew, felt like I was gonna be coloring forever just now. All right, so now we're gonna go over this a little bit darker marker, add some little details. Okay, you just color my little boba teas in, and then we'll be ready to outline. Okay, so now we have this part colored. Let's take our big pen and let's outline. All right, so now we have everything outlined. If you want to, you can take your Sharpie and you can just go around your drawing and you can just add a little bit thicker line. I like to do it on one side of my drawing. And remember, you don't have to be too fussy about what you're doing and being perfectly straight in a line. You can see that you can get a good result by just doubling those lines, or tracing it just brings it out so much more. Wherever you see it. It's a good thing and a good practice to just kind of follow your instincts with art and color it as you see it. And I add like a little more dark lines in the tongue right here. Okay, so now we have our cute little monster done. I'm going to show you how to leave the space on the bottom and cut it out so that we can attach it to our board. We'll do that first and attach it to our board, and then we'll decide what elements we want to put around it. So here we go, let's cut it out. You're going to need some space on the bottom. So what I like to do with my students here is just draw a line from underneath my drawing to the bottom of the page, and then we'll cut it out. When you're cutting it out, you don't have to cut out right on the drawing. I like to give it a little space around the edges. You can see I'm just leaving the white around the edges to just give it a little space when we're cutting it out. Kind of almost makes it look like a sticker. All right, you guys, now that we have it cut out, we're gonna get our box. And what we're gonna do is we need to bend the paper back. So you don't wanna cut off your monster's feet. You just wanna bend it back enough to where you have a little lip that you can attach to the board. Then we're going to decide where we want her to be on the board. So I want mine to be a little bit more than halfway back so that I can use this space to design other things and elements to put around her. So now we have to glue her on and then make the support to keep her upright on our board. So let's get to gluing. Let's see here. Now remember, if you're going to use a glue gun, to make sure that you have an adult with you, because these things get hot. All right, I'm going to take my, look how cute she looks already. That makes me so happy. She's like, what? Okay, so I've got 2 popsicle sticks. I've got the larger size popsicle sticks. I'm going to get 2 of the little wood pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on one side of my wood piece, and then I'm going to attach it to the very bottom of my popsicle stick. And what that's gonna do is help me make a support to hold my monster up. Then once I get that on, we're gonna put glue all the way up the popsicle stick. And we are going to set it down on one side because we're gonna make two of these because this monster is so big. And we're just gonna press up and that is gonna attach. And you can do this with Elmer's glue. It just takes a little bit longer to dry. And I'm just gonna put some more glue at the bottom to really help this stand up. And we're gonna do the same thing again. Here we go. I'm going to put some on the bottom. We are going to attach this and just press up. All right, you guys, look at that. How cool is that? So we spent a lot of time coloring our cute monster. Our other elements, we're just gonna do muted colors so that the focus is really on our monster. Since my monster is eating an ice cream cone and I want her to tower over the city, I might make some, instead of trees, maybe ice cream cone elements to kind of stick here and there between my buildings. So now we're gonna draw some buildings. So we're gonna kind of set our glue gun aside and our glue. And we're going to make some buildings with the rest of our paper. Let me clean my space real quick. Okay, so now that we have our extra sheet of paper, I'm just going to cut this at different widths because I want my buildings, some buildings to be taller than the other. So I'm going to just going to cut 3 different slits. These buildings are going to be higher than the other. And you can use lots of imagination on when you're drawing these. Let's just start with these 2. So what we're gonna do is on this paper, say I want one of my buildings to be a wide office building. So I'm gonna make a square shape. And remember, we're gonna leave space at the bottom because we need to bend the page over to attach it to our board. We're gonna make a door to our building. So I'm gonna do another square shape with a line in it. And then I'm just gonna add some windows here and there. Into it, I might just continue this on and go up with a little line and over and make a tall, thin building next to it. Maybe this one I want to do an arched door on it, the handle, and maybe on this one, I'll do some taller windows. Next to it, I might make a tiny building. So we're gonna do another square shape. Maybe this one I want a cute awning on it. Maybe it could be like a little restaurant. Let's give it a little striped awning with 2 big windows up top. Little door. You can use your imagination for however you see it. Next to that, I might do another wide building. Going across. Let's see, let me put some door handles on this building. Let's see, we'll make a smaller door opening on this one. Maybe we'll also put an awning above this one here. 2 big windows. Little windows going across the top. So you can use your imagination for these. We don't want them to be too fussy. We want them to be fun and get the concept of what we're trying to create without being too fussy on this part. I'm gonna get my gray marker, and what I'm gonna do is we are going to just add some little highlights around the side of the building, in the windows, the awning. Gonna give them a little bit of character. without having to spend too much time. You see how fast I'm just going through this. Then I'm gonna get my pen and we're gonna outline these guys. So we're just gonna go right back over our drawing. All right, so what we're gonna do is, remember, don't forget to leave the space at the bottom. So what we're gonna do is cut around the buildings, but leaving the space at the bottom so we can glue it down. So let's cut them out. All right, you guys, I'm gonna cut these corners off because it's gonna help the edges not be seen as much. So what I'm gonna do is fold the bottom of my paper. And I'm gonna, once again, get my glue gun out. I'm gonna decide where I want this to be on my board. Check that out. And if you wanna help it stand up a little bit more, you can do the same thing with the little glue squares. And those just kind of secure it where you don't have to worry about it coming off or falling over. And this just secures it on there. Look how cool that looks already. So while we're doing this part, I might take maybe one or two of these planters and kind of make what looks like some bigger trees with these little things. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue in my glue gun. Okay. We're just gonna make something that looks like a tree. All right, and then I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue on the bottom of that. And I'm just gonna stick it on my board. Let's see here. I'm gonna do this one maybe on this side. So I'm just gonna get some glue in there and then just start dropping some of my little puffs in there. If you want to, you can draw your trees on whatever you have that sparks your imagination or your creativity in what you want to use. You can just do it like that. Okay, so I have some planters in there. I'm gonna take another row of paper and maybe draw some smaller buildings and maybe some people. So let's see here. Let's see. I'm gonna take this piece of paper and I'm just gonna do some simple trees at different heights. 2 lines up and down and some squigglies. And remember, we're just going to repeat the same thing. We're going to leave the space at the bottom and we're going to draw our trees over. Oop. We're going to trace them out. Just decided last minute to add these guys in. If you're a teacher and any of your students forget to leave space at the bottom, don't worry. Or if you forget to leave space at the bottom, I'll show you what you can do. So if that's the case, then all you have to do is take one of the little squares. You're gonna put a glue dot on it and line up your little drawing with the bottom. And we're gonna just stick our tree there. My tree is as big as my building. Let's do a shorter one here. Gonna do the same thing here. Maybe we'll put this guy here. I want to do a tall building in the background, so I'm going to do a tall skyscraper. I'll leave my space at the bottom. I'll draw my big doors in, and then do the squares for the windows. Let me grab some more popsicle sticks. Just a second. Okay, I had to grab a few extra popsicle sticks for my smaller skyscraper. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna put my glue on there, add it to my little cube base, and then we're gonna put the glue at the top of the stick, and we're gonna attach it on. And we're going to put the glue on the bottom, and then we are going to attach it to our board. How cute is that? All right, so that was a last minute skyscraper right there. Let's add some little people elements. And with the people, you can draw little stick men. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line. And maybe I want to make it look like people just walking in a row. So I'm just going to do a circle with a line down and show their arms, their legs. I want to make it look like they're walking to the side. So maybe this guy might be pushing something. Once you get the line drawn, you can decide maybe this person has a ball cap on, or you can draw little squares to make it look like clothes, thicken it out. It doesn't have to be terribly detailed because we just want to make the look of people. It doesn't have to be a detailed drawing of a person. So maybe here I'll do a smaller child stick figure. Do some thickening up my lines here. Back here, let's do another. You see how when you just get the lines there and you just thicken up the drawing, it just kind of gives you the look of people. And even behind them, you could do a little shadowed look to where it just looks like they're people just by adding some squiggly lines. Okay, I'm gonna trace this out with my pen. And I'm just gonna go over my drawing, color in the little cart with the line. You see that? I'm not being terribly detailed, but I'm just kind of giving the look of people. You can even add some extras if you want to. I'm gonna add some extra shadows there. All right, so let's cut this out. Really, the sky is the limit on this piece of art. If you can imagine it, you can draw it in. See that? Okay, so we're gonna kind of do the same thing. We're gonna take our little people and we're just gonna attach them to our little thing. Isn't that so cute? I do have some smaller green puffs, so you could just here and there add them to your piece of art. Let's see, I have this larger one here. Let's see. How cute is that? Look at that, you guys. How fun is that? If you want to, you can even add like a little zigzag to make it look like a road. Draw that in. We're gonna trace it. For something like this, if it's a flat element, then you're not gonna have to worry about having space on the bottom. Let's see here. All right, so I'm just gonna make it look like this road just kind of goes behind that tree. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue on there. All right, the little spot that kind of goes off the front of my board, and I'll just cut that out there. All right, I think I'm gonna add one more skyscraper here, and then I think this piece will be almost done, but I do wanna add a few little of the ice cream elements to the board. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I grabbed some more paper, so I'm gonna build one more giant skyscraper on this side, and then I'll add a few more elements, and then we'll be done. So here we go. I'm gonna get my piece of paper. I think I want this one to be a little bit wider than the other that I just did. Let's see, I'll set these here. So I'm gonna do a tall, wide skyscraper. Oop. My line got just a little wonky on that side. So we're just gonna do it the same way. Off. All right, and we'll use these two green popsicles to make our supports. All right, so now we are gonna glue the bottom. And we're gonna connect this big guy to the box. Okay, so now for the few little ice cream elements. Maybe this is an ice cream city that the monster likes to come and visit. So maybe the city welcomes the monster and has ready-made ice cream for it whenever it wants to come in for a treat. So all right, guys. So this is what I'm gonna do. On this one, we're gonna kind of do the opposite, when I want to leave some space at the top, because I want to draw an ice cream cone, but also want to use these shimmery puffs to be my ice cream. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw my box at the top of my ice cream cone, and that's what I'm going to use to glue. And then I'm just going to do a tall ice cream cone. So let's get our gray marker, and we're just gonna trace that out. And we're gonna trace our lines. And we're gonna cut our ice cream cone out. I'm gonna still leave space at the bottom to use my block, as a support. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold the top. I'm gonna put a little piece of glue right here to make a little block support for my ice cream cone. And then what I'm gonna do is put a little bit of glue here, and check this out. How cute is that? I might double it. With another, and maybe one more to make a cute little ice cream cone. If you want, you can get your marker and just add some brown on there. Let me get a little bit deeper brown here to color in your cone. Just like that. All right, and then we're gonna find a spot on our board where we can attach the little ice cream cone that the city leaves for the giant. And if you want to do the boba tea, then you can draw the boba too on its own, which is the thin rectangle with 2 lines down and across. You can draw the straw in. You can do the boba tea bubbles at the bottom. So let's see here. Draw that in. Perfect. I like the idea that in imaginary world, the city doesn't stop the cute monster for coming in, but it makes preparations for it and welcomes it. So therefore, the cute little monster respects the city so much that it makes sure that it walks carefully through the city. Hey guys, I added my extra skyscraper. I added a bigger boba tea and a little ice cream cone here. I love the idea that the city invites the monster in and it's okay for it to visit. So I added those little elements, but I think it'd be fun to add my other little monster here, maybe as a friend of the monster, as this little monster. They come in and visit the city together. So I'm gonna add this in real quick and then I'll show you the finished product. All right, you guys, here's my finished product. I added my new little guy in and I love the idea that they're visiting the city and feasting away. I hope you had a great time. Thank you so much for joining me today and creating this fun little world. I hope it sparks ideas in you and creativity of what you can create just using paper and pen and markers. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me and I'll see you next time on the next episode of Studio Creative Kids. And today I have some larger popsicle sticks. Gosh, come by. Some larger papas. Why does my brain move faster than what my mouth wants to go?